Hey, Moline High School, welcome to your social emotional lesson for October 30th, 2024. Today we're going to talk about self-regulation and decision making. So first we're going to talk about self-regulation. That's going to take us a little while. We're going to actually get into some science behind the brain and how the brain works. Then we're going to talk about decision making really quick and how they work together. I'm going to introduce the activity for today, and then we're going to watch a video at the very end. So self-regulation, that is the ability to stay in control of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in order to make good decisions. It is important because it gives us a way of coping with our emotions so that we find better ways of managing our frustration, sadness, and fear. So now we're going to talk about the brain and how feelings interact with our thinking to help us make decisions. So, the brain is part of our nervous system. Hopefully, everybody knows that. Nerves that have special cells can communicate with each other. So, you have nerve cells in your ears that pick up sound waves, in your eyes to pick up light waves, and in your skin to sense touch and temperature. You probably noticed these are related to the five senses, and our brain is the control center of the nervous system. Our feelings are sometimes called our sixth sense because they're also part of our nervous system. So we're going to dig into the science a little bit, very rudimentary, very basic. The limbic system. This is the emotional center of our brain and is in the middle of your brain. And we call the feeling part of the brain the limbic system. We experience emotions and how we feel in this part of our brain. So now we're going to talk about the amygdala. One of the important parts of our feeling system is called the amygdala. We have two of them in the center of our brain, one on each side. Amygdala actually means almond, and that's because they are shaped and the same size as almonds. Sometimes scientists call the amygdala the panic button because it is very important to our survival in an emergency. The amygdalae are very powerful and send strong feeling signals that tell us that we feel mad or scared or any of the other feelings that we have. They work incredibly quickly and give us an immediate response. So I kind of like to think of them as sensors. They're constantly on and checking the situation to make sure that everything is okay. Once your amygdalae detect a problem, they flare up and they can take complete control of your entire brain unless your cortex, the thinking part of your brain, is able to calm things down. So the cortex is like the control panel for the sensors, and it can control your amygdalae, but you have to train it. It comes with practice, and as your brain develops and as you get older, it becomes much easier. So now let's talk a little bit more about the thinking brain, the cortex. The thinking brain is the outside part called the cortex. And when you're a baby, the cortex is not very developed. But as you learn to talk and think, it develops more and more connections get made, and it gets stronger and stronger. And as you grow, you think faster. Some things like knowing how to walk or talk seem automatic. And actually, your brain does not fully develop until you're about the age of 25. So even at your guys' age, everybody in high school, you are still developing your brain. So now, how do those work together? So just giving an example, if you touch something hot, your hand would send a message to the emotional part of your brain. The amygdala, the emotional part, would know that it feels hot, and it would send a message to the thinking part of the brain. One part of my brain would make me move my hand away automatically. The other part would make me run for cold water. And another part would get the message in my feeling brain, and I would go, oh my gosh, that's hot. So the emotional part and the thinking part send messages back and forth very quickly. So after thinking that's hot, the emotional part of my brain might feel angry. Then the cortex might think, darn it, I burned myself. That makes me so angry. So all of that happens, the whole part of your brain does their job, and all of that only takes a few seconds. So all that happens really super quickly. So what happens when I have an emotional feeling? So let's say I'm sitting in class and somebody grabs my pencil. I would see it, I would feel it, and that information would go to the emotional center of my brain. My amygdala might fire like a laser, and I would feel very angry, but I wouldn't understand yet that I felt angry. It would just send a message really quick, and that panic button and that automatic emotional response from your amygdala might make me yell or make my arm grab the pencil back. So you need to practice your thinking brain, your cortex, to get control of the amygdala so that you don't automatically yell, you don't automatically jump into it. It's you have to use your thinking brain to get control of those emotions so that you're not constantly acting out to that panic button of your amygdala. So how can we remember how the brain works? So I've always really enjoyed talking about this, thinking using your hand. So if you put your hand up and you think about this representing your brain, the wrist, so looking at your palm or looking at like this, I kind of do it this way. The wrist in the middle of the palm is the brain stem and the spinal cord. So put your thumb in the middle, and this is going to be this is your cortex, and this is your amygdala inside there. So when you get really angry and your amygdala fires and it goes like this is called flipping your lid. And this means your cortex is not in control. Your fingers are like your cortex. They're wrapped around your amygdala. So when that amygdala, that bad boy in there, gets all upset and you don't let your cortex take control, we call it flipping your lid. And this is being hijacked by our amygdala. So that's kind of how I like to remember it. Let's not flip our lids. Let's keep our cortex in control and keep those emotions under control. Okay, so how can we keep from flipping our lid? You need to do something to stop, calm down, and think. This makes the thinking part of our brain stronger and stronger. And the more you practice it, the better you can make decisions and you can feel like you're in control. It takes a lot of practice to do this well. And that's why it's usually easier for adults because we've had a lot of time to practice it. When you master using your thinking brain, you will feel very powerful and in control like a Jedi for my Star Wars fans. The front part of your brain can become very powerful, like being able to use the Force in Star Wars. But like a Jedi Knight, you have to practice over and over and over. It can feel hard to learn sometimes, but once you master it, you can feel very powerful and in control. It can make you feel like you're in charge of yourself and in charge of your emotions, and it can make you feel a little bit more grown up. Okay, so try to remember these three things. You can maintain good control if you use the thinking part of your brain to override the panic button in the emotional center of your brain. To get control of your feelings, calm down, stop, and do something immediate. Like you could do some breathing exercises, some mindfulness exercises, something, take a break, anything that you need to do. You got to really practice that whole stop. What's going on? Take a deep breath and just kind of analyze the whole situation. Think about how you're feeling. Say the problem out loud and say how you feel. Communicate. You really got to practice that kind of stuff. It just makes those connections in your brain even stronger and helps you learn how to control your emotions. So, how does this come into and what are we going to do with it? It's all about decision making. So, decision making is the process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative solutions. So, finding other ways to solve stuff. So, decision making can be really big, making a really big decision, or just making those small decisions in the moment to help you with your self regulation. The decision-making process can either be looked at in a 5-step, especially when you're trying to make a really big decision, or even just in a small 3-step if you're just trying to get control of an emotional situation. So the 3 steps over here, you could just stop, think, and choose. How am I going to respond? How am I going to act to this? What steps am I going to take next to resolve whatever issue I got going on? When you're trying to solve a bigger problem or making a bigger decision, you could go through these 5 steps. You can identify the problem, analyze the situation, look at pros and cons, look at what's really happening, dive a little deeper into the situation, brainstorm solutions to solve the problem, consider ethical responsibility. So in other words, is my decision going to affect others in a positive or negative way? Like how is my decision going to affect other people? Is it ethical? Is it moral? Does it go against my beliefs? That kind of thing. And then you evaluate and reflect. And sometimes you don't always make the right decision. That's okay. But you can go back and reevaluate what you did and see if there's another another route that you could go instead. Okay, so now putting self-regulation and decision-making together a little bit more. So responsible decision-making relies on the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of our brains. Like I mentioned before, human brains are not fully developed until the age of 25. So before the age of 25, research shows that humans tend to use the amygdala, the emotional reactionary part of the brain, more often to make decisions. However, anyone at any age can use their emotions to make decisions. But it's always good, no matter how old you are, to work on self-regulation in order to calmly and rationally look at situations and make responsible decisions. Okay, so our activity today is I have a Google Doc inside of your Google Classroom. And teachers, you have access to this Google Doc through these slides. And I just want you to read an article or watch a video about decision making. There's lots of good articles and videos through this Google Doc. You could do it as a class, you could do it in partners or individually. So that's the activity. I wanted to introduce that because I'm going to end the lesson today on a video from Kid President. I know that he's been around for a long time and he's a little bit older in the video that we're going to show, but I'm sure he's much older now because this video is a little older, but it's a really good video about talking about making decisions. So I'm going to shut off my camera. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Work on that self-regulation and work on your decision making.
People, you know what time it is? Decision time. So, you got a decision to make. Don't worry. You make decisions all the time. Like what to eat, what to buy, what to wear, how to spend your time, who to spend your time with, what you're gonna say, how you're gonna say it, whether or not you put on the dinosaur costume and escape through town. Hey, it's an option, and I'm proud of it. Researchers found this. We make thousands of choices each day. Thousands of them. In fact, the more responsibilities that you have, the more choices you have to make. There's options all up in your face all the time. And on top of all this, with each choice comes a consequence. Every choice that you make leads to something good or not so good. Like that old saying, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes that reason is you ate a whole roll of Oreos in one sitting. If you excuse me, I gotta take a break. Okay, I'm back. Ugh, that was a bad decision. If you're watching this video, that means you're awesome. Congrats, you're awesome. How will you make awesome choices? Here's a few choices for how you can make choices. You could be impulsive. Don't even think about it. Just mindlessly point, pick, and do whatever. Disclaimer, I don't recommend this choice for making choices. Now you can do it, but it'll lead to mixed results. It's especially dangerous while picking your wardrobe or defusing a bomb. Can't be impulsive then. Another choice you have when making choices, don't do anything. This is a choice to not make any choices, which is a poor choice. Just stand there, wait, do nothing. It's an option, it's always an option. You could say nothing, do nothing, but fair warning, then you'll be nothing. Just saying. Another choice for how you can make a choice. Just be a follower. Yeah, just do what everyone else is doing. When you're a follower, you don't really have to think. It's really simple. Just to look around, see what everyone else is doing. Is everyone just complaining about something? You can do that too. Is everyone doing what everyone else is doing? You can do that too. Is everyone eating an entire row of Oreos in one sitting? Just do that. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm back. I have to make better choices. So being a follower, you can make that choice. It's just a really big problem with that. The world needs you. So how's about this? Focus on being someone worth following. I like that choice. Another choice how you can make your choices, be thoughtful. Warning, this requires thinking. It takes some thought to be thoughtful. But thinking, that's something we should do more often. Think about, what do I care about? What's important to me? What kind of world do I want to live in? Do my choices help create that world? I want to live in a world with more dancing. So what do? A little bit of dancing. The choices you make help make the world. All of us together make big choices sometimes too. Like we all try to come together and make a big decision. Like in an election. Who will lead our country? That's a big decision. Whatever happens there, there's something that you can't forget. Just how powerful you are. There are no small people and there are no small choices. You're making big choices every single day, and they make a big difference. Whether you're president in the big fancy Oval Office, or not the president, or just a kid with a camp phone and some cardboard, your choices matter on election day and every single day. Real change happens right in your backyard. The little decisions that you think are little are actually a really big deal. The choices we make our lives. In your life, it's an awesome one. Make the kind of choices that are worthy of that awesome life. I'm gonna make a decision right now. This world needs a little more dancing, so I'm gonna dance right now.